So if you're like me and you've upgraded from the original Mavic Pro to either the Mavic 2 Pro or the Mavic 2 Zoom and you have a set of DJI goggles, you'll be happy to hear that they are fully compatible with both Mavic 2 drones and they work wirelessly, which is a huge benefit, but there are some glaring issues that need to be addressed. So using these goggles with something like the Spark, the Mavic Air, the Phantom 4 Pro version 1.0, and the Inspire 2 is annoying because you have to connect a wire from the remote to the goggles themselves. With OcuSync, you can use the original Mavic Pro, the Phantom 4 Pro version 2.0, and now both the Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic 2 Zoom with the goggles wirelessly, which is just such a better experience. I can turn on my drone and remote and still have my phone opened on the DJI Go app while also using the goggles, so I don't have to choose which gets plugged in, my goggles or my phone. This makes it easier on myself to use them as I want, and I can even hand them off to someone that I'm with so they can watch as I fly around. Now, before we get ahead of ourselves, we need to learn how to link the goggles to the Mavic 2, which can be done in two different ways. The first is right within the DJI Goggles menu screen, which can be found by swiping up to access the settings, and then swiping down one to select the linking settings. You'll have to choose which drone you're linking to, which of course will be the Mavic 2. Now, to complete the process, we'll head over to the aircraft itself and uncover their pair button on the underside of the drone. Push this button once and the LED should change to green, signifying the pair was successful. Although this first method works, I would highly recommend going about the second way of pairing your goggles to your Mavic 2, as it is a lot easier. So first up, grab a SIM card tool to press into the goggles just underneath the function button, which begins the pairing process. Then we'll grab the Mavic 2 and press that same button on the underside of the drone to complete the linking process. It's just a lot easier. Now that the goggles are paired with our Mavic 2, it's finally time to put them to use. So what I want to do is go over some of the features and the overall experience of using the goggles with these two new drones. Now, I've already made a full in-depth review of the DJI goggles, which I will leave linked down in the description and I'll also put up in the top right corner, but I want to quickly go over what I think of the goggles as a whole in a quick 20 seconds. First up, they're big, they're bulky, and they're sort of hard to fit on my head, but once you get around all this awkwardness, the feature set that they come with is incredible. For example, the resolution of both screens put together is 3840 by 1080, so we're talking 1080p screens for each eye, and when you pair that with something like OcuSync with the full 1080p video downlink, it gives you super crisp video playback. Also, not to mention, when you're using this paired with a drone that has OcuSync, you get to use them wirelessly, and I'm a big fan of not having a bunch of cords dangling from my remote and the goggles on my head. A few of the features that set the DJI goggles apart, like head tracking flight and head tracking gimbal, are still available with the Mavic 2. In fact, I think they work a lot better on this drone than on the original Mavic Pro. For instance, head tracking gimbal has a very limited range on the original Mavic Pro when looking from side to side, but is of course able to look straight downwards at a negative 90-degree angle. The Mavic 2, on the other hand, has a camera that is able to pan fully left and right, greatly increasing the range from side to side. It can also, of course, look straight down, which makes this experience overall better as you don't feel so limited. You can really look around anywhere that you want. If you want a little extra range, there is always head tracking flight, which allows you to look around 360 degrees, and the drone will follow your movements by altering the position of the drone. Like I said in my in-depth review of these goggles, this feature could definitely use some work, as the drone's movement doesn't necessarily match the speed of your head's movement perfectly. I'd stick to head tracking gimbal or just use these goggles as a simple FPV screen for your eyes. Now let's get into the portion of this video that is not so good, and honestly the reason why I wanted to make this video and the reason why this video is titled the way that it is. There's a bunch of features that came along with using the DJI goggles and the original Mavic Pro that are non-existent when using the goggles with the Mavic 2, and quite frankly, I've got no idea why they're not even there. Here is a chart taken from the manual of the goggles that shows what features are compatible with which drone, and you'll notice that terrain follow, tripod mode, cinematic mode, and fixed wing mode are all not supported with the Mavic 2. When we head into the intelligent flight features using the Mavic 2 within the goggles, all we have is active track and tap fly, and when switching over to the original Mavic Pro, we have a huge list to choose from, most of which is not available on the new Mavic drones. I personally could care less about terrain follow and cinematic mode not being included with the Mavic 2 and the goggles, and something like tripod mode is now easy to get into using the remote controller, so we've got a tripod switch on the right side, which is nice, so we don't really need tripod mode right within the goggles. But not having fixed wing mode is like a huge blow to the Mavic 2 and the goggles. I mean, I never use the goggles when I'm trying to take photos or videos for like cinematic videos. I only use them when I'm having fun, and fixed wing mode is the best way to have fun with the goggles. I mean, if you're not familiar, fixed wing mode essentially turns your quadcopter into a fixed wing drone, so it flies forward. I mean, I made a full video explaining how fixed wing mode works. I'm going to leave that linked down in the description as well. But the fact it's not in the Mavic 2 kind of makes me not want to use the goggles all that much. Now, to sort of work around the Mavic 2 not having fixed wing mode, you could always just set your gimbal mode to FPV instead of follow, so that the drone's camera and gimbal will bank with its movements, although I wouldn't consider this a legitimate workaround, as it doesn't change the flight of the actual drone itself. Now, my pair of goggles has probably spent more time on other people's heads than my own. I don't use them all that much, but as I said, I like handing them off as like a secondary screen so someone can watch what I'm doing when I'm flying around. When I do use them, I strictly use them for FPV flight. I don't care about all those intelligent flight features, so as I said, I could care less that things like cinematic mode, tripod mode, or terrain follow are gone just because I don't use them. And these goggles are perfect for me because they've got great screens, 1080p for both eyes. It's got 1080p video downlink from drones that use OcuSync, and also those drones using OcuSync allow for wireless connection to the remote controller or the drone itself. So these are great for me, although I do think they could use a little bit more work for the Mavic 2, as right now, they're kind of like an afterthought in my opinion. But guys, I hope that you enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll talk to you later. Peace.